Faithful, we back. Bang, bang to the gang. You hear me? Faithful Boys Podcast, P Warrior _9, the Benjamin. That's 49 the Sports Talk. Y'all know what we do over here. We bang till we can't no more, and that's to infinity and beyond. What's good with your big brother?
It's good, bro. The draft is tomorrow. The team, been bringing in these players, signing these players in preparation for the draft. So, all of the 49er fans are excited to see who they going to pick with these 6 picks. See if they going to trade back, to get more picks or, even trade up. So, they're
Right.
going to find out tomorrow. But draft time is here.
Yeah, brother, draft time is upon us. We are ready to bring in some fresh crop of talent, you know what I'm saying, that's ultimately going to propel us on our never-ending quest to six. Hopefully this will finally be the year we actually able to cash in. Got some good vets. Y'all know we signed Trent Williams. We'll definitely talk about that. But like I said, bro, draft time, we hours away. We going to drop this thing tomorrow, a little bit before the draft. And then we'll be back with our post draft analysis of everything that transpired per the 49ers and a couple splashes probably out the division we might need to talk about. But John Lynch had the press conference. What was it, yesterday?
Yeah, I believe so.
All right, brother. So I guess some of your thoughts on your takeaways from Lynch's presser. I didn't catch it all. I heard him speak on the Ayuk situation in particular. But I guess we could talk about the presser a little bit, and we'll kind of slide and move.
Well, I think, it was typical, pre-draft, talk.
Hmm.
They asking them about certain positions and, you know, they're not gonna tip their hand, type of thing. So I think they're ready. They know they have an idea who they want to draft or who might be available there to draft. You know, as far as the Brandon Ayuk situation, like he said, they may not do a trade, during the draft. It's probably gonna be a post June 1st cut, to save cap space
Right.
and stuff like that. So to me, he didn't really say anything that, caught my eye or was different than what they said. I think they look into really, continue to bring in the talent. They got a group of, he more or less say, they have been talking to teams about a group of players of different scenarios. And so you got to see how it's gonna play out tomorrow as far as, what players get picked before 27. Will they feel like they need to go get a player and trade up? But if you trade up, you got to give up draft capital. They only have 6 picks. Do you trade back to get more draft picks, and try to, keep adding on to the team? So, we don't really know. I think just given what they have done in free agency, really, I always look at it like what free agency reveals is what they're
Right.
gonna be thinking. Like he did say they could have the ability to draft the best player available. So they're not gonna draft somebody for a specific position or a specific need. If they take the philosophy of drafting the best player available, then whoever they have is that person on their board, they should draft. We don't know who it is, but just based off of what he's saying, that's what it is. And then you can tell them for agency, they tried to show up the receiver position. They showed up the cornerback position. They, brought in a defensive line. They brought in a couple offensive linemen. Even though they wasn't a tackle, they was guards, could be guard,
Right.
center, whatever. They resigned Trent Williams. So they fortified the majority of the team. They brought Drake Greenlaw back, and things like that. So there's only a few positions, if you think about it, just in terms of what they did, that they will be looking at. They probably looking at defensive end because they need pass rush. They're looking at an offensive guard because the left guard position, while you brought in these other guys, you want to bring in more competition. So you probably gonna draft a guard. They're gonna bring another receiver in just because you brought Mike Evans in and you brought the other dude in, but they on 1 year contracts and they
Right.
older.
Christian Kirk.
Yeah, Kirk. You see what I'm saying? So we know that as far as the positions that maybe they could shock with, depending on how the draft fall and who's there. It could be tight end, it could be a safety, it could be cornerback. I don't think it'll be linebacker because you got Greenlaw, you got Fred Warner. So I don't think it'll be that. So It's defensive end, guard, a receiver, and safety is really the positions that they need to draft. Now, with those 6 picks, you figure they're gonna take a run on some, and then you gotta also factor in you gotta factor in undrafted free agents too. And they normally do a good job of finding at least 1 or 2 diamonds in the rough that develop and
True that.
either
True that.
play for them or be depth for them. So we don't know. Like I say, we just gotta see how it play out with all of the teams that's in front of them, and then when it do come their time, what they gonna do.
Well, bro, we definitely eager to see what's gonna be going on. You know me, bro. Like
Yeah,
I definitely don't want them to reach and no shit, but
yeah,
I'm looking skill position. You know what I'm saying? Uh, we know we need the heir apparent to Trent, as well as to me just quality linemen, both sides of the ball. So we'll see how it shake out, and I think like every year, it's gonna be 1 or 2, surprises that's gonna kind of shift the board. Some shit might fall in our lap we didn't expect. So, you kind of reroute the hustle and then, like you say, get the best player available then, who might have been somebody who they thought, wasn't gonna be there. So kind of make them go away from what we thought they might have done, so forth and so
yeah,
on. So yeah, that's kind of what I want to see, because if some kind of way they wind up ending up with the edge rusher with the first round pick, will I be surprised? No. But depending on how it went about, we could be getting, a real goddamn. So, hey, I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
yeah. And then we don't know what Raheem Morris and the defensive coaching staff is looking at, and stuff like that. So, just based off of what last year was when they didn't have no pass rush, they got to get a rush. Whether it's the first pick or the second pick. They looking to me. I could see them going either offensive guard, or offensive line, or defensive line with the first 2 picks, or maybe a wide receiver and a defensive end. Because they say this, they say that the draft in this particular draft is deep at the guard position, so you might not have to necessarily draft the guard. But if one of the top ones is there, you don't want to pass them up either, especially if you're trying to have compete.
That
You know what I'm
part.
saying, for the position.
Right.
So you don't know what they're gonna prioritize as like what is our main 2 needs with them first 2 picks. Because really your first and second round pick should be playing, if not starting, playing and giving you significant snaps. So we got to see what they thinking. Now, conventional wisdom says, okay, you only got 20 sacks last year. You need to get somebody who can rush. Now, they got Joey Bosa.
And Bosa coming off that injury.
Yeah, that too. And then you got Joe, you got the brother out there. And then you could always trade for somebody too. Cause maybe y'all swing a trade for a defensive another defensive end, pass rush dude or whatever. So there's a lot of different ways you can go with that. We, like I said, we just don't know. We hope that they're gonna take the best player available. We hope they're gonna take somebody that's gonna be able to make an impact, whether it's on offense or defense,
Right.
whether it's a line, a receiver, or the defensive end position, or even a safety. Because a lot of people feel like they have 3 good safeties, but they don't have like a dynamic safety. Like the dude from Seattle, Emi Warwick, came in and made the impact or whatever. So, and then I'm gonna keep saying this: the coaching that they're gonna get from Jerry Gray, who was one of the best players back in the day when we was growing up in the '80s, and then he been a defensive coordinator, he been a defensive backs coach. He was with Raheem in Atlanta last year, and they drafted some good secondary players. They was trying to get the secondary coach to come with him, but Atlanta blocked it. But then Jerry Gray, to me, is gonna make such a difference with the defensive backs. We could see Ronaldo Green take a leap. We could see Demo maybe get to the Pro Bowl. We could see maybe either Brown or Mustafa or Sigler, or if they draft somebody or whatever the case may be, really improve because they're gonna have better coaching. Nothing against the dude that was there, but this dude played the game and he played in the era of Rice and Card and all of these people. And they need to be a coach forever. So
Right.
it's gonna be invaluable that they get the coaching they're gonna get. Now, a better secondary can help your pass rush. Now they got to hold the ball longer. A pass rush and an improved secondary. We go from a defense that when everybody was healthy was good to maybe a top 5, top 10 defense for sure. So it's just a matter of, so it's just a matter of what are they prioritizing? To me, they always talk about defense and wanting to affect the quarterback. You ain't gonna be able to play in a division with Arnold and with the quarterback from the Rams without getting no pass rush. Stafford, yeah, that's who you gotta go up against. You know, I ain't discounting Arizona, but we ain't really worrying about Arizona because they ain't really got a quarterback. But for the main two competitions in our division, which is Seattle and the Rams, you got to be able to get after people. You see what I'm saying? You got to be able to get a pass rush. Now, see, we can look at the Rams in a sense. The Rams had a pass rush they couldn't cover. Well, they went and got McDuffie and the boy from Kansas City. So now you got both. You got pretty much locked down corners, shut down corners, and you got the pass rush to go with it. That's why they lost to Seattle, because they couldn't stop JSN. So you got to have both. Like I said, you know, in a sense, you wouldn't take a safety because of like, okay, what can a safety do if you don't have a pass rush? So to me, I still think they're gonna go with the pass rush, especially if somebody fall that they really think could be like not just a third down man, but even potentially be the heir apparent of both or whatever. So to me, you got to get the pass rush, because the pass rush can help you. Like I said, I think they got the right coach now to coach the secondary, and I think the secondary is going to be better. But you got to be able to get pressure without blitzing. Not saying that they won't blitz or whatever, but you know, you got to have it, and I think you got to have at least more than one. So you could draft one with the first pick. To me, you need to be doubling up. You know, you can't never have enough good pass rush men, you know, out there. You know what I'm saying? So to me, I think they're gonna go defensive end or pass rush myself. You know, we'll see what happens tomorrow, but that's my thinking with that part of it.
No, I feel you. And I mean, you're right, especially always, you know, planning to win your division first. You talked about the quarterbacks we have in front of us. And you know, the teams that they have around them are pretty good. So definitely got to be able to get after them. And man, that's kind of my thinking. I feel like if you're looking for said pass rusher, ultimately you need to be looking for Joey Bosa's replacement.
Yeah.
Because he, you know, I meant Nick Bosa, I'm sorry, his replacement. And not saying we trying to get him out the door, but knowing that he, you know, has had major injuries, it's only so long he gonna be there. You feel me? So I would, you know, would like to prepare sooner than later, and then you get him early. He plays alongside Bosa. Then we got the Tim Duncan, David Robinson situation going on. I feel that bode well for us. You know what I mean?
Because then you got to look at it as if, and I'm thinking of, okay, you know, y'all been running y'all stand the 4-man line, and I think Raheem, you're going to see more blitzing and, you know, from different areas and things like that with the linebacker. I think it'll be more aggressive in a lot of ways. And then there's going to be times where if you can just have your 4-man rush and your NASCAR package and all of that, that'll work too. So I think, you know, you just got to have people who can win the one-on-ones, you know, in the playoffs and Super Bowls and all that. You know, the scheme is good, and you got to, you know, have the scheme. But man, and like in them critical moments, it's that one-on-one matchup that make all the difference. Can I beat you?
Beat the man
mano y mano, you know, man to man. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So, and then y'all need, you know, and then you can't expect Nick Bosa to, you know, you want him, you figure he gonna come back healthy, but you know he gonna get the double team automatically because you don't have nobody on the other side who's a threat, or you don't have people that, you know, you don't have nobody that gonna put fear in nobody, you know, outside of him, you know, at that position. So we know they're gonna draft it. We just don't know if it's gonna be with the first pick or the second pick. Conventional wisdom says it's gonna be the first pick, especially if it's somebody that have a first round grade or somebody that could potentially, you know, be impact, you know, coming in. Because you know Michael Williams gonna come back healthy. And I think you gotta expect him to get a little better with the pass rush. But when it's 3rd down and 10 or 3rd down and 15. Come on, we was watching the damn Seattle game in the playoffs. They got these boys 3rd and 17, and what happens? They ain't had no pass rush. Dude catch a little screen, or even they ran the ball, nigga got 20 yards. We died and stuff, and that's what kills me. That's what I can't deal with, because that's in those situations, and you sitting there, that there's nothing that can be done. And these boys on the field, they know on some level can't nothing be done with that, because you don't have the rush. You know what I'm saying? So they gotta get pass rush. Like I said, it would be great if they could draft another position, these kind of things. But really, they need a pass rush, dog. They need it. They're not beating the Rams, and they're not beating the Seahawks. They're not getting to the Super Bowl without a pass rush. Lynch and them know it. So while the fans might want them to draft a lineman, we might want them to draft a skill position player. Not saying that they won't do it. In order to win this thing, in order to win this chip, they gotta have the rush, dog. That's just me. They gotta have it in spades.
Nah, bro, you spot on. I ain't mad at you. Look, they ain't got to get the skill position guy in the first round. Just make sure you get one. We got a lot of wide receivers running that 4.340 and shit. You know what I mean? So if you could get a burn at some point, go ahead and grab him. But nah, we know, what we got to prioritize. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, it's gonna be good. Trent Williams, brother, re-signed what, a 2-year deal? Feel like 37 million guaranteed, if I'm
2 years,
right?
50 mil. Yeah, 2 years, 50 mil, but 37 guaranteed, and it saved them $20 million in cap space, which they're gonna roll that over. It gives them the flexibility that they always looking for. So we know this the end for Trent. We know he coming up on his last little time playing in the league, with us. And he got 2 more good years. He's gonna be 38. So he's still one of the top, if not the top 5 tackle, definitely within the top 2 or 3 in the league at his age and stuff. So, as long as he stay healthy, they'll be fine. But then that's when you bring in a Vederian Lowe, and you have the dude Austin Pleasant, there too, to be able to be depth, in case somebody, in case he do get hurt or whatever the case may be. So, we know he ain't gonna be practicing every day, when training camp and all that come. And we know in the regular season he gonna get his vet days. We just need him out there on Sundays, but we know he gonna be in shape. He still, tweaking and working the, the physicality and the things to keep his body straight and in shape. And he ain't lost nothing that much. He ain't lost that much of a step. You know what I'm saying? So, they wasn't letting Trent go nowhere. People talking about they're gonna trade him or release him. That was never gonna happen, man. You ain't gonna replace no Trent Williams with no draft pick, or even if you was to get a player from another team who had some kind of potential. This dude gonna be in the Hall of Fame. You ain't let nobody in the Hall of Fame walk out the door. That's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? Why would you let a Hall of Fame player walk out the door and go help another team win? And then you ain't got no left tackle for your franchise quarterback. Everybody know they're gonna have to draft a tackle, eventually. If not this year, it'll probably be next year, because he'll be on the last year of his deal. So, and then I don't know what the tackle class will be like next year, but they can draft the tackle next year and let him develop for that year. And then when Trent done, then you the man, for the next Godwin and hopefully 10 years. So they were never gonna let him go. I never was really tripping off of it, you know what I'm saying? Because number one, he wasn't trying to go nowhere. He loved playing for the 49ers. You know what I'm saying? And they love him. So they made the money work. And like I said, save him cap space. He going to be there and stuff like that. So I never was worried about it. They need to get the left guard position filled. That's why a lot of people figure they're going to take a guard either within the first 2 picks or maybe even after that, depending on, what happens and stuff like that. So whether it's going to be a draft pick playing that guard position, or somebody like a Connor Colby who was there last year who started some games but wasn't ready, or the Brett Toth and the other dude they brought in, that's who gonna be competing for that position. You know what I'm saying like that. So all of the other part of the offensive line is set outside of that left guard position. If they can either get the draft pick or get one of these dudes they brought in free agency to solidify that position, and we have a starting 5 offensive line that can compete, because we going up against Seattle defense. They're a dog. The Rams defense shit ain't bad, ain't chopped liver either. So we gotta be on it, you know, as far as the line and all of that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's how I view that, you know, the offensive line part of it.
Nah, bro. Well, shit. You say left guard, huh?
Yeah,
Okay. Well,
you know, because Shanahan and
think
Lindsey,
this
they
is gonna
want to
be a
bring in
good draft,
competition.
bro.
Yeah, I think they're gonna hit on the draft. I mean, see, I always looked at it like after they had lost the Super Bowl, you know, the way they did, that it was gonna take them 3 drafts to rebuild a team. So the draft after the Super Bowl, I think that's the Pearsall draft. You know, they brought Pearsall in and Renardo Green and some players, and some of them players are still. I think Mustafa was in that draft. So those players have contributed and made plays. Last year, you know, the defense fell off a cliff, a long, hard cliff. So they drafted, you know, they had 11 picks. Well, 5, 6 of them picks was defense because they had to rebuild a defense. So, and all of the 11 draft picks that they picked last year still on the team. So now this year you got 6 picks. Now you could trade back and get more. Now if you give up the 27, you know, the first round pick 27, you'll probably get a high second round pick to go with the second round pick that you have, because I think there's 58 that they pick at. If let's just say they trade back, then you're gonna have the opportunity to have probably a second round pick, maybe even a third in this year's draft, and maybe some conditional pick next year or something. So you're probably gonna get 3 picks for that one. So you'd have 2 seconds, you'd have a third that you gave up for Osa Odighizuwa, and then you would have those 4 fourth-round picks. So you would go from having 6 picks to 9, but most of those picks is within the top 100 or whatever. So you got the opportunity to get some really good young talent to infuse into what the last 2 drafts have been to rebuild your team back. I always felt it was going to take them 3 drafts to rebuild a team back with young players. And they finally starting to go with the youth movement because the core of Kittle and Warner and Bosa and McCaffrey, they getting older now. They didn't got you to all of these different NFC championship games, Super Bowls, playoffs. Okay, but Father Time starting to catch up, so you got to replenish the roster. And they always do a good job with the compensatory picks to where when they lose more players than they gain, they get those picks. Well, Jauan Jennings haven't signed with anybody, so right now they even in the compensatory pick formula, which means they won't get a pick. So if I think you got to sign by a certain date. David Lombardi was talking about that yesterday, and I was trying to listen to it, but I didn't get a chance to listen to it all. But if he would have signed before the draft, then they would have got at least one compensatory pick. But that's here nor there. The main thing is y'all got to hit with this draft too, because really what y'all signaling to the league is that y'all pushing y'all chips to the table. Y'all trying to win the Super Bowl this coming year, because you ain't signing Mike Evans and Christian Kirk and Greenlaw and a lot of these players to these 1-year contracts if you ain't thinking you can compete. They hope to compete and they overachieve. Now they feel they got as good a chance as anybody to win a Super Bowl. So now you bringing in these veterans to kind of push you over the top, but then you still got to replenish with the young talent. So this draft is crucial too, just like last year's was. Y'all got to hit on these picks. Y'all got to hit on that first. Y'all got to hit on all of the picks that y'all have, whether it's the 6 or whether you add 3 more, you trade back, whatever the case may be. Y'all got to hit with these picks, and then hopefully, and historically, they've done better in the middle rounds to the late rounds, and then undrafted free agents in there, in the first and second, third picks. Really, like they 4 through 7 picks, and the undrafted free agents have fared better for the 49ers in that first, second, and third in a lot of cases. But if you ain't trading back to get more picks and you gonna stay with them 6, well, you got to hit on them 6, and them first 2 got to hit, because typically first and second round picks, they playing a lot of snaps. If they ain't starting, they're playing significant snaps because you counting on them. So this a crucial draft too for them as well. They got to hit with this one too. And if they hit with this one in last year's draft, come into that second year and they hit, and then even Pearsall and them, because Pearsall going into his 3rd year, that draft finally stayed healthy, then we got the makings of, with the veterans we have, there shouldn't be no excuse for us not to get to the Super Bowl and win it, for sure.
Well, I feel you when you say with the trading back, because you're really splitting hairs between a late first and an early second. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Exactly.
So nah, I kind of feel like, and then like you say, the extra shit you gonna get for giving up that first, besides that second you gonna get, that might be worth that. Yeah, keep my head of the
Because
street
if
for
you
that
get 2 second-round picks, let's
one.
say
Right.
whoever's at the top of the second round trade up, because a lot of people think that quarterback, the Alabama quarterback, might fall, and the team might want to trade from who don't have a first round pick, but they have a second round pick or whatever the case, or even the team that have a first round pick, they may be willing to give up their second to get another first. Where you would get their second, you would probably get a third, at least a third, or maybe a fourth, or maybe a later conditional pick in the next draft. But you at least gonna get high second round pick to go with the one you have. And so now you have the ability to get two good players for that one. And then, so yeah, so I think if a trade is to happen, it will be them trading back. And even Lynch said we only have 6 picks. So trading back might be an option. Because they like to have the picks. Because the more picks you have, the more swings you can take on players. You know what I'm saying? It's hard when you have a few picks. You got to hit on all of them, especially if you ain't trying to trade them or you don't have the ability to trade, because you got to give up draft capital for the next year. Because the teams that won't give up draft capital for next year, because they talking about next year supposed to be the draft with the quarterbacks and all these different positions. So next year supposed to be the better draft. So you ain't trying to mortgage next year for this year. So to me, a trade up wouldn't even make sense. Y'all either gonna stay put or you gonna trade
Right.
back, because you ain't trying to lose the picks that you're gonna have to try to rebuild a team next year, when they say this draft is deep and better overall than this year's draft class.
Real talk, real talk, real talk. Well, brother, shit, we ain't got too long to wait. So, we gonna pop them TVs on in a little while and see what it do. Look, keep an eye on that good old Twitter too, or X as they call it, because that's gonna be popping with some of them updates too,
Yeah.
in real time. But yeah, bro, let's go ahead and get out the door. Shit, we'll pop back in after the draft with our post draft, our little post draft commentary, and shit, and that'll be the bubble.
Yes, sir.
All right, y'all. Well, as always, definitely appreciate y'all for rocking with us. Just continue to tap in as we warm it up, getting prepared for the season. You know what I'm saying? Because once the season comes, we turning up full regalia, start having a guest on a little bit again. You know what I'm saying? Break down a little bit of this footage, etc., etc. And just
Yes.
top it up with some of the homies. You know what I'm saying? Bang, bang to the gang. Y'all know what it is over here. Faithful Boys Podcast. We bang till we can't no more. And that's to infinity and beyond. That's P Warrior _9 and myself, Benjamin Ness. Holla at us when you see us.